Once a year, the United States government publishes a single number. This year, that number was $81.9 billion. That is the entire secret intelligence budget. The spies, the satellites, the listening posts, all of it, crushed down into one line on one page. And here's the strange part. By law, that one number is the only thing they have to tell you. Not where it goes, not what it buys, not a single program inside it. And the size of that one line is hard to even picture. $81.9 billion is larger than the entire military budget of almost every country on Earth. More than the United Kingdom spends on its whole armed forces. And remember, that is just the part they admit to. So how do you hide $80 billion in a budget that anyone can read? You are about to find out. By the end, you will know exactly what that money built, and the one quiet trick that keeps almost all of it invisible. Start with the trick itself. The law is called Title 50, Section 3306. It says the government must publish the top number for intelligence and nothing else. So the rest does not vanish. It hides. It sits right there in the public budget, under code names that mean nothing. The Navy once carried a classified line called Chalk Eagle. $543 million. No description. The Army ran one called Tractor Hip. Other lines just say, in plain text, classified programs. That is the whole entry. An artist named Trevor Paglen spent years mapping this. He calls it the Black World. Programs, people, and places that officially do not exist. But you might be thinking, fine, the public cannot see it. Surely Congress can. And this is where it gets stranger. The most secret programs, the ones labeled waived, get shown to just 8 people. 8. The leaders of the House and Senate and the heads of the intelligence committees. In the deepest briefings, those 8 cannot take notes. They cannot ask their own lawyers. They cannot even tell the other members of their own committee what they just heard. Some programs are buried so deep that not even the full oversight committees, the people whose entire job is to watch this money, are allowed to know they exist. So a handful of elected officials get handed a secret and then ordered to keep it from the very people they sit next to. That is not an accident. That is the design. In fact, the clearest look the public ever got inside this world did not come from the government at all. In 2013, leaked documents handed a newspaper the real internal summary for 1 year. The figure inside was $52.6 billion, broken down line by line. We were never supposed to see it. We only did because someone walked it out the door. Now here is the fact that will reframe that whole number for you. For most of American history, you did not even get the total. For over 50 years, the entire intelligence budget was itself a secret. Not the details, the total. A single sum the government refused to print. Then, in the 1990s, a research group called the Federation of American Scientists sued. They used the Freedom of Information Act and argued there was no real reason to hide one big number. And the CIA could not come up with one. So on October 15, 1997, the director of the CIA, George Tenet, said a sentence no one in his chair had said in half a century. The number was $26.6 billion. Then he added, carefully, that they would reveal nothing else, ever. They printed it once more the next year, $26.7 billion, and then they stopped. The country went quiet again for almost a decade, until Congress finally forced the number back into daylight in 2007. So understand what you are really looking at when you see today's number. It exists only because someone sued for it. The default was always silence. Which leaves the question you actually clicked for. Where does the money go? The honest answer is that the black budget builds the things that are too secret to admit until years, sometimes decades, later. And the history is genuinely incredible. In the 1950s, it built the U-2, a spy plane designed in about 8 months and flown out of a dry lake bed in Nevada the CIA would not admit existed. That base has a name you already know, Area 51. For decades, the government would not even confirm it was there. It finally admitted the place existed in 2013, and only because a historian pried the documents loose with a records request. The aliens were never the secret. The aircraft were. Then came something faster. The A-12 and its famous cousin, the SR-71 Blackbird. To survive flying at 3 times the speed of sound, it had to be built almost entirely of titanium. But America did not have enough, so the CIA set up fake companies and quietly bought the titanium from the one country with the best supply, the Soviet Union. They told the Soviets it was for pizza ovens. Then they used that metal to build the plane that spied on them. And it worked. The Blackbird flew so high and so fast that when an enemy fired a missile at it, the standard escape was not to dodge, it was to point the nose forward and simply outrun it. No Blackbird was ever shot down. By the 1980s, the black budget was flying a triangle, the F-117, the world's first true stealth aircraft. It was combat-ready in 1983, but the Air Force denied it existed until 1988, when they finally released a single, deliberately blurry photograph. For those 5 years, the pilots flew only at night. When neighbors asked what they did for a living, they said, defense logistics. Then there's the price tag the money can hide. The B-2 stealth bomber, the most expensive aircraft ever built, at about $2.13 billion each. The country planned to buy 132 of them. After the Cold War ended, it bought 21. But the strangest thing the black budget ever paid for was not a plane at all. It was a ship. In 1974, the CIA built a giant vessel and told the world it was a deep-sea mining project owned by the billionaire Howard Hughes. It was not. Its real job was to reach 3 miles down and lift a sunken Soviet submarine off the ocean floor in total secret. The giant claw it used actually broke during the lift, and most of the submarine slipped back into the deep. The mission half failed. The cover story never did. When a reporter later asked about it, the CIA invented a brand new answer. It could neither confirm nor deny that any records existed. Lawyers still use that exact phrase today. It was born to hide one ship, and the money did not just build machines, it built an entire agency. It is September 18, 1992. The Department of Defense releases a short statement, only 3 paragraphs long. In it, the government admits, for the first time, that there is an agency called the National Reconnaissance Office. It runs America's spy satellites. And it had existed since 1961. Sit with that. For 31 years, the United States ran a full intelligence agency that legally did not exist. Not its name, not its budget, not its mission. 31 years of people driving to work every day at an office the country was not allowed to know about. That is what invisible money can do. It can hide a plane. It can hide a ship. It can hide an entire agency in plain sight for a generation. So by now your instinct is probably the same as everyone else's. If they can hide all of that, how much is just gone? Lost? Stolen? And here I have to be straight with you, because this is exactly where the internet gets it wrong. You have probably seen the headline, $21 trillion missing from the Pentagon. It is one of the most shared money claims on the entire internet, and it is not what it sounds like. That number came from a real study, but it was never missing cash. It was the total of something called unsupported accounting adjustments from 1998 to 2015. The Pentagon runs on dozens of ancient computer systems that do not talk to each other. So every time a dollar moves between them, it can get counted again and again. 21 trillion is the sum of all that double counting. The amount the Pentagon actually spent in those years was about 9.2 trillion. The money was not stolen, it was just counted badly. There is a real problem hiding under the fake one, though. The Pentagon was first required to pass a full financial audit in 2018. It has failed every single one since, 8 years in a row. It genuinely cannot give a clean account of its own books. 26 separate problems were flagged in the most recent one alone. But failing an audit is not the same as losing money, and classified is not the same as missing. The black budget is hidden on purpose, and it is tracked on purpose. You just are not the one allowed to see the tracking. And it is still going. Right now, there are aircraft the Air Force will not admit it owns. One of them, a large stealth drone, has reportedly been flying for over a decade and was recently photographed overseas. Ask the Air Force about it, and the answer is 4 words: we do not discuss. The next U-2, the next Blackbird, is almost certainly being flown tonight, paid for by a line you are not allowed to read. So let's go back to that one number, $81.9 billion. It is not a vault that got robbed. It is a magic trick. The single number they show you is the one designed to keep you from asking about the thousands of numbers they don't. The planes, the satellites, the ship that stole a submarine, the agency that did not exist. You learned about every bit of it years late, or by accident, or because someone leaked it. That is the real secret of the black budget. It was never buried in a bunker. It was hidden in plain sight, one boring line at a time. If you want to see more of what they built in the dark, subscribe, so the next thing they kept secret is one you get to see in the light. See you in the next one. And real question, of everything still classified tonight, What do you think we will finally find out about in 20 years?